Okay, let's take a look at the day. We did have one and done on the 1 minute chart template past the 7:32 US Central Time window. That was right at 7:30. I don't trade 7:30. I wait till 7:32. Today I was in a 1 minute template automated trade and got a push down through some key levels. I think the automated hit about 655 or 665 or somewhere in there. And then when we got a long signal here, I just threw on some positions manually and caught a little bit of this action in here and lift and blipped out a little over 800. I've been so busy today on calls with programmers and organizing stuff and just so anyhow, I wanted to make sure though I got over my 710 a day per 150K account. So that's good. That was it. Uh, so anyhow, one and done there. If I would have just left it alone, completely alone, after blipping out the initial trade, and then it would have triggered me into a long, I would have, done over the 710 all automated, just leaving it alone. So I was not of thought that the market, if it did sell off, would break down much. We did sweep out some levels, and that excursion down was actually much lower than I expected after the initial news reaction. So I was like, okay, I'll take 600s plus for the amount of contracts I was in to blip out and call it good, and then catch a little bit of this action right in here uh, to get to get over my 710. I go for 710 a day per 150K account. Okay, the main thing I wanted to show you the dual band setups. They're just like really, really strong. This is going to end up being a hit. I can just tell. I know when something's good. And I got a feeling traders are going to go nuts over this. It's a really good improvement over my prior originally built adaptive price bands that do not repaint and do not recalculate that I'd built. Gosh, when did I first build them? I was looking back. It looks like my first emails I see interacting with the programmer was like 2008-ish through 2009 where we were making changes to it. And then I made it part of what was called a new algo system back in 2022-ish. So I've taken all that original work and then taken it to another level by changing some of the options for the math and the bands, and voila. And then going with two bands. So some of you may be familiar with what they call Hurst cycle. That's kind of a approach with Hurst cycle. I think Hurst cycle, they use recalculating bands, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not into using recalculating bands, don't really need to. But when we get the fast band outside of the slow band, that's kind of your heads up. Be ready, be ready. And when the fast band closes back one segment inside the slow band, you get that little cross, then that's an actionable area to work a scalp setup. Looking for some action to the north there. Stop never more than most recent price pivot. When you get to 1-to-1, you can start bleeding out some of that risk. You get to mid-band, you should seriously consider taking some of the position off, or at least making sure you have a very active trail stop. So that was yesterday's bounce. And the reason I'm pointing it out, we did have a couple of slap down sells. This morning's sell was nice. We had a big pump out of the news, and then we got a sell signal somewhere in here, and that worked its way to the mid band and worked its way just barely to the other side of the edge. What I really loved about this long setup today, you basically came down and did a levels test. So this late low pivot of the day yesterday during the U.S. cash session, when all the main participants are engaged, they brought it right back down, tagged it out, and right away got lift, did some accumulation, and then we got some traction to the upside, cleaned out some of these prior levels on that pivot, and then got a short trade. So I'm telling you, if you can learn levels and pay attention to levels, like I have multiple video series in the price action training room on levels test and level sweeps, and you can just work levels and have some mechanism to tell you, okay, now it's okay to get long, or now it's okay to get short. Those can be amazing setups. So anyhow, we've had that one just barely missed from being a signal. That was a signal. A couple of misses on the high side, but you can see all these pivots. Let's just do a horizontal line. All these pivots got cleaned out into that pump this morning. So we had the pump out of the news on CPI news. I think this was a gamed pullback. Uh, basically so institutional side could accumulate, and then they came in and they had to work it a bit in through here to, hang on to this. And you can see all those higher pivots. It's kind of a tell. You start seeing ascending pivots after a bounce, ascending channel after a V bottom, after a double bottomish type bounce. We got excursion barely outside of the bands and lift, and they worked it, and then sellers that were selling in this area just basically shut down, and off we went to the races. So got an excursion above the bands. So yeah, not too bad, not that bad of a day. Some good cyclical action on both sides. And anyhow, these are what I call the dual bands trades. Now there's other ways to use this. I'll show you another really nice setup. Remember, if you ever have any questions, just info@gridalgo.com. I'm going to show you some other setups that you can work. I'm going to index those a bit right here. We'll put some little circles on those. Let's get one more in here. So what these are is if you have upward main channel and that mid channel, the midsection area of the main channel is lifting, and you're getting pullbacks just at and below the faster bands and lift, you can work those as quick scalps. Lift. Jump in with the ATM, very tight stop, fixed amount of risk per trade, and see if you can get one to run. And that one ran. So very simple little quick scalping trades. So what I like to see is I like to see that action below the mid band of the main channel. And you can see here that the faster channel for the most part is below the mid band because we're transitioning from some selling to buying. But these little excursions below the faster bands on the bottom side in an uptrending channel are good areas to be a buyer for doing quick scalping. So if you want to kind of consider the mid band as value, running value on the market action, anything below that, you're paying wholesale to get into the market. And anywhere you're letting go at mid band or above, you're getting out, starting to get on a retail side. So your margin then from your buying at wholesale and selling at retail, there's your margin on your trades. So always try and find areas to be a buyer of value or be a seller of value. But that's another type of setup that you can work with this approach with the dual bands. And there's some other that I'll teach once we release these, which we're getting ready to do for the NT8 crowd, then Quantower, and then some of the other platforms. So there you have it. Just wanted to show you a little bit of action on the day. And 1 minute template, caught a short, then caught a long. So that was the action so far today. CPI news, some selling, cleaned out a bunch of levels, and then it was all buyers and lift, cleaned out levels to the upper side, and now we're kind of settling in that upper third of the day's range so far, with about 15 minutes left on the day till the U.S. cash session stock market trading comes to an end. So there you have it. Watch for more updates and more info a bit later. You guys all have a great day. And remember, info@gridalgo if you have any questions. Thanks.